Here's something that raises some profound questions about the nature of life. There is a commonly eaten meat animal that is alive and remains alive as you eat it. That's different from an animal that's alive when you start to eat it. People eat all kinds of animals like that, oysters probably being the most obvious example. When you order that bivalve at the restaurant, it is fully intact and alive. The chef opens it up or shucks it. It starts to die, but if it's shucked fresh, it's still living when you suck it down. At which point the animal dies in your stomach like one of Jabba the Hutt's minions in the Sarlacc pit. Shouldn't take 1,000 years though. I'm not talking about an animal like that. I'm talking about an animal that is alive when you start to eat it, stays alive as you eat it, and remains alive long after you've paid the check and gone home. This animal survives the experience of being eaten by you, and indeed might live to be eaten again by somebody else. I'm not talking about some unicellular organism that lives in your gut. I'm talking about a big, complex animal with tissues and distinct organ systems and all of that. It even has a face. Do you know what it is? I'll give you a second to think about it. It's crabs. Not all crabs, but certain ones. Most commonly here in the United States, it's this guy, the stone crab. Millions of these animals are caught in traps off the Florida coast every year, and since there's almost no usable meat in their carapace, the main central body there, only the giant meaty claws are harvested. I'm about to show you a video of this being done. It's an educational video that was produced by the State Wildlife Agency in Florida. As meat harvests go, this is probably about the least gruesome one you could possibly witness, but content warning nonetheless. Here you go.
To harvest a stone crab claw, first measure it from the elbow to the tip of the lower immovable portion of the claw. If the claw is more than 2 3/4 inches in length, it may be removed from the crab, and the crab may then be returned to the water.
Once tossed back in, the crabs are theoretically able to survive, thrive, make baby crabs, and even regrow their claws, perhaps even to be harvested again. Indeed, crabs in the wild frequently practice autotomy. They self-amputate their own claw, autotomize it. This biological function is seen in a few animals, typically as a means of predator evasion. If you're a lizard and a hawk has you by the tail, you just let the tail go and grow another one in its place. But crabs are way better at this than lizards are. When a lizard jettisons its tail, the new one it grows back kinda sucks. It's short, it's stubby, it doesn't have any bone, no vertebra, just some cartilage at the center. It's more like a tail-shaped scar than a true regenerated tail. Crabs, on the other hand, can regrow a real, fully functional claw through their molting process. Crabs are also able to actively throw off their own limb, whereas most lizards do it passively. The tail is simply evolved to break away when a certain amount of external force is applied to it. In contrast, crustaceans can actually actively eject their own limb. It's a reflex action, not something the crab does consciously, to the extent that they have a consciousness, which is a highly debated and not irrelevant topic. Regardless, by actively throwing off the limb, the animal is able to choose the specific point at which it breaks away, or rather, evolution has chosen it. And that breaking point is not necessarily the weakest point, the point most likely to break when pulled on by somebody else. Rather, it's a point where there's a diaphragm that can close off the wound, seal it. You can see it there in this photo from that Florida Fish and Wildlife Conservation Commission. So if you're a crab in the surf and a shark has you by the claw, the choice is clear. If you're a shark in the surf, I don't even want to know you. But if you're Surf Shark, that's a whole other thing. Surfshark is the sponsor of this video. Whenever you're surfing the net, which is totally a thing the kids still say these days, I'm sure, connect through Surfshark VPN. Especially if you're traveling like I've been doing and using other people's Wi-Fi, Surfshark keeps anyone else on your network from snooping on you. And by routing yourself through one of these Surfshark servers in all these different countries, you can evade government censorship, or that thing where streaming services won't let you see something because you're not in the right country, or location-based price discrimination, all of that. And Surfshark comes with tons of other internet safety and privacy tools. Tools for anonymous searching and browsing, tools for making sure that your logins and passwords aren't being leaked somewhere, everything you can need to stay safe in these here waters. You can sign up right now for 83% off, plus an extra 3 months for free. Just use my code AdamRagusia, all one word. That and my link are in the description, 83% off. Thank you, Surfshark. So, the thinking among fisher folk historically went like this. Crabs deliberately jettison their claws all the time, so it's all the same if we tear them off and eat them, right? It doesn't hurt the crab. The crab lives to molt another day. What could be more sustainable? That's what people thought. And then they started doing actual science. 1978, these researchers at Everglades National Park collected about 200 healthy stone crabs. They set the crabs up in some nice big aquariums, ripped some of their arms off, and then watched them. Of the crabs who lost both claws, about half died. The crabs who lost one claw, about a third died. When they died, a majority died within 24 hours. It was the trauma of having their claw torn off that killed them. It was fluid loss, the loss of their equivalent of blood that's in their tissues. And consider this, quote, "In the wild, where declawed crabs must compete for food, mates, and shelter, and avoid predators, the mortality rate must be even higher." And indeed, it is. It's been 40 years since that first study, and several more studies have been done. The stone crab industry became a big one in Florida. Food-related science generally follows the money, and the money has been great. Money is the dotted line on that chart. But the catch has not been great. The catch is the solid line, landings. The money is only up because people are paying more. This graph is from a pretty recent study by the Florida Wildlife Commission. Rather than observing crabs in aquaria, they did it in big pens out here, out where the crabs actually live along the Gulf Coast. They declawed some and then watched them over the whole 2011-2012 season. In that time, 40% of the one-armed crabs died, 60% of the no-armed crabs died. The scientists, of course, had a control group, a group of crabs that got to keep their claws, and of those, 13% died over the course of the study period, because nobody lives forever. But having their claws torn off definitely dramatically increased the odds of mortality, and what's worse, higher temperatures seem to increase the odds of dying once they had their claws torn off. Here's a master's thesis by a University of South Carolina student, Jessica Hogan. She found that even when crabs survive the declawing trauma, they still don't do that great in the wild. They have trouble cracking open the shellfish they like to eat, and energy they could be putting toward reproduction seems to be getting diverted into regrowing that claw. Speaking of the new claw, what are the odds that you can eat a stone crab claw and then some years later somebody eats the claw that the crab regenerated in place of the one that you ate? What are the odds of getting a second harvest out of the crab? 3%, according to another study here out of South Carolina. In their mark and recapture studies, only 3% of the crab successfully regrew a claw of legally harvestable size. Now, part of that is just down to the natural lifespan of the crab, which simply isn't that long. It's hard for a crab to naturally live long enough to grow 2 really big, meaty claws in succession. Even still, yeah, these numbers are kind of bad. But then again, bad compared to what? The mortality rate of beef cattle is 100%. These guys have a 0 chance of survival. Anything is better than those odds. Where there's life, there's hope. And let's remember, nothing goes to waste in the ocean. Say I buy some other kind of crab and I cook it whole, the whole animal dead in my steamer basket. I eat the meat from the claws because that's the easiest meat to get at, and there's not so much great meat in the carapace, the body, and especially since I'm not an experienced picker, I'm really not able to get that much out of it, so most of it goes in the trash. And then where does it end up? Probably in a sealed landfill somewhere. In contrast, a stone crab loses its claw and gets thrown back under the waves. Even if it dies, at least it stays in the ecosystem. It becomes some other critter's dinner. And the research indicates that stone crabs have a much better fighting chance at life if we remove their claws properly. The fisherfolk have to break the claws along that diaphragm that seals off the wound. Again, from that Florida Wildlife Commission vid.
Care should be taken when removing the claw so as to not permanently injure the crab.
To hold the crab, take both claws, make sure you have both propotuses firmly in hand, and with the right hand I'm just going to make a motion straight down, which is a good break.
Now I bet I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, Is the crab suffering? Does an animal with such a small brain and simple nervous system have the capacity to experience pain in anything like the way that we do? Well, this is a never-ending scientific and social controversy. Crabs have been shown to recoil from physical danger and avoid situations in which they've been harmed in the past. Whether that's just an instinct or a reflex or evidence of consciousness, nobody knows for sure. I do know that when people eat bigger-brained animals, we generally try to extinguish whatever consciousness they may have before we start cutting them up. At least in modern industrialized meatpacking. A cow, for example, is knocked first. Knocked. And if somebody gave me a choice, I would definitely opt for being knocked. But again, with a crab, there's always the possibility they could survive the process of becoming dinner. Lose limb or lose life? What do you think? If you're a crab, let us know in the comments which you'd prefer.